Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Digital Growth Essentials. So, this is a three-part series organized by the MBCC, and today is part one. We're going to do one of these every month. The first one is hosted by me, Hasan, and then we have Mr. Chad Smith, Mr. Eddie Agassi doing their own webinars as well in the next couple of months. And the point of this series, or the idea behind it, is to give business owners, entrepreneurs, the essentials to basically grow digitally. That's everything from starting today. We're going to talk about how to find the audience, which is pretty much the first step of the process. And then we're going to talk about social media. Chad's going to go over that next month. And then we're going to talk about Google and search engine optimization with Eddie. And the point of the series is, or the aim of the series is that by the end of it, any entrepreneur, business owner has a good grasp over how they can digitally grow and yeah, so these are the essentials, and this is part one. So I'm just gonna say hello, introduce myself. I'm Hasan Shahid. I'm the COO and partner at Strategia Solutions, based in Maryland, and I'm also the CEO, if you can see my screen, for a bunch of other things, including a hosting company, a brand agency in the UK, and a consulting company. And since 2009, I have worked as a consultant, a producer, a video producer, as a marketing manager, as a product owner in tech for hundreds of clients and partners and at jobs. So I come here with the experience of having worked with dozens of businesses, built them from the ground, brought them up from everything from brick and mortar, from restaurants in Germany to software solutions in the Middle East. So I worked all over the place, tried my best to learn the best I can. And now what I try to do is bring a bit of that, as much as I can, knowledge to other entrepreneurs, other people who are on the same journey. And hopefully, this first step in our series is going to help you have a better understanding of the topic, which is finding the right audience for your brand online. So let's get started. Before we get in, I'm just going to say that there will be time at the end for questions. I'll give you about 10, 15, 20 minutes, depending on how quick I can do this. And if you want to, if you think of any questions while we're going on, please feel free to leave them in the chat, and then I'll get to them at the end of it, or we will have the floor open at the end, and you can just jump on the mic and ask a question right there. So let's begin. So I want to begin firstly. I'm going to talk about what's the importance of target audience, finding the target audiences. So what we're going to talk about is, number one is defining your target audience, what it is, understanding their behavior, understanding what they're doing. And then we're going to talk about the analytics or the data that you can use to, one, define them and understand them. And then we'll talk about how to actually leverage existing platforms out there to get optimal results out of the understanding you have achieved of your audience. So let's get into it. Let's get into why knowing your audience is important. So number one, it starts right from the start, where when you're thinking about what your brand's messaging is going to be, what your brand's positioning is going to be in the market, it's very, very important to understand your audience, to know how you're going to position your brand. If you don't know who you are targeting, who your brand is actually talking to, it's going to be much harder even coming up with an idea for your brand, your branding, everything from your the brand's image to the actual products you're selling and the way you're selling them should be informed by your audience. And getting to know your audience is the best way to start that process. The other thing it will help with, and it does help with, is your marketing efforts. So if you know who you're targeting, you're not going to be marketing all over the place. You're not going to be having a limited marketing budget, just going to 10 places to try to figure out who you actually want to target. If you've already defined an audience or you understand your audience, you will know where to spend that money or where to spend that effort to go to the market. And then once you're done with the launch part, the marketing part, and you have the customers, your next step is to get conversion rates and get loyalty out of your customers. So make sure they stick with your brand. And again, the better you know them, the better you'll be able to do those. And then all of this leads into a long-term relationship with your clients, with your customers, with your users. And the better you know them, the longer you can make that relationship last, the more you'll know what to do to actually make it last. So let's begin with step number one, which is going to be how you define your target audience. How can you break them down? So normally it's not what just one target audience. You can break it down into different subcategories, but the basic things that you have to look at is number one is the demographics, and the second one is the psychographic factors. So demographics are your basic personal profiles like your age, gender, location, income level, education, occupation. Now, any of these points, they're not, you don't have to use all of them, you don't have to know all of them, and you don't, it can't just be just one or two, right? So you have to find, depending on your audience, depending on your industry, you'll find the right balance as well as to what you actually need and what's relevant. For a certain type of brand, gender might not even be relevant. So that might not need to be a part of your profile. For a certain type of brand, the income level might not be relevant. But for other ones, your gender might be the most important thing, or the age might be the most important thing. If you're selling a toy product, you're going to be targeting either parents or kids, right? So in that case, age becomes very important than something where it's a more general product or a service. And then the psychographic factors are stuff like interests, lifestyle choices, values and beliefs, and buying behaviors. So these are not things, these are, a good way to explain it is these are things that you have to do something for us to learn about that thing about you. So everything else, the demographic factors, you're either born there or you just, that's how you live. That's your living condition, right? Your age, your location, your education. But the psychographic factors are based on behaviors. So they're based on what your audience is doing or who you're targeting is doing. And these are, again, none of this is inclusive. Like this is all it is, and that's all you can do. Uh, you can add as many as you want, depending on your industry, depending on the type of audience, depending on your own research. You might find more psychographic factors, and as technology gets better at figuring out what people are doing and how they're behaving online, the psychographic factors field just keeps getting bigger, and we keep getting more information, so we can add more factors in there. So those are basically some of the pointers or some of the data points we use to define an audience. And now let's talk about how we can understand their behavior. So the first one, the demographical things, there's nothing to understand there. Someone's age, someone's gender, you get that data, if they fit your profile or not. But the psychographic ones are where you have to understand people's behavior and base your perception based on that. So some of the ways currently we can get insights into these is number one, their online shopping habits, the social media usage patterns, and the search queries and browsing history. Now, how we get there is through the tools. I've mentioned some here. There are many out there that let you do these things, but Google Analytics, for example, what that gives you is it gives you the keywords people are searching for, how many people are searching for it, where they're searching from, what devices they're using, what ages they are. So just Google Analytics on its own or Google keyword tools, once you start researching there, it will give you a number of these things itself, and that's a good starting point, and it's a free tool. There are other paid ones out there as well, there are the free ones out there as well, but what these tools do is they analyze the search results of people, what people are searching for when they're looking for something, how many people are actually clicking through and going to buy that thing, how many people are converting. So those numbers really help when you are trying to build a profile of someone and how they're doing online shopping. The second tool is social media insights. Pretty much every platform from Facebook to Instagram to even TikTok has their own dashboard for businesses or for admins where they give you all these insights and all these details. Uh, People that stuff that people are not happy about with social media, or they know what we're doing, they know what we're clicking on, they know where we're looking. That's actually really beneficial for businesses, and that's the reason they do it. So it's they don't tell you exactly what a certain person is doing, but they give you the trends and they give you the numbers, and that's really helpful in building up the profile in your specific industry. You can figure out what kind of pages people are clicking on, the people who are clicking on your ads or your posts, where they're from, what their education is, what their job is, how much they're earning, all of that stuff. Social media collects and shares it with us. Again, it's not a data privacy thing. It's all hidden information, but it gives us the trends, it gives us the numbers, and helps us decide or helps us create that buyer persona. And then the last point I've mentioned here is heat maps and session recordings. So these are a bit more intense tools. For example, heat map, you can find many heat map tools or session recording tools that can be installed on your website. Again, they don't give you the personal detail of the person. They just give you their profile, their some of their stats, and how they're behaving on your website. So heat map, for example, shows you where someone's mouse has been on the screen, how long they hover over a certain point, when they scroll to something, when they click on something. And that gives you a good idea of the behavior of someone, is how they're performing when they're on your website. For example, e-commerce businesses really use heat maps a lot because it lets them know, okay, at this point people are clicking off the website or they're going back, we need to change something here, add a button here, do something there. So they help, they inform your decision as well. And all of this is done so you can create a buyer persona. What that means is you basically create profiles for those people based on the real data you're collecting from these tools I just spoke about. So I like to make it like an exercise I did long way back in uh, acting school. So what they basically, when you're defining your character, you have to give it certain uh, character traits. You have to give it certain. You have to, this is my age. This is my where I'm from. This is how I grew up. So the only difference here is that we're doing it using real data. So for most businesses, you don't just have one person or audience profile, you have multiple. So you can imagine one of my customers is going to be between the ages of 30 and 40, a certain amount of education. This is how much they earn. This is how they spend their money. This is what they like to do. And you create five, six, seven, eight, however many you need, however many make sense, different business personas or customer personas. And that's going to help you then when you're going to marketing or reaching out, or again, creating your products, creating your services. Once you have those personas and you can see them as real people, that's how you can know, okay, this is who I'm actually selling to, or this is who I need to sell to. And then the demographic, the psychographic information we collected, that's what's going to help us build these personas and create these characters. And it's a fun exercise to do as well as a business owner, no matter where you are in your business. Just sit down with a pen and pad, create some personas like that, create some fake characters for those people. I even like to imagine this is what they might sound like, this is what they might wear. And that helps you really get into the heads of what is going to be a prospective or existing audience. Now, depending on what tool you're using, some of these tools give you data about people on just online or on social media. Some of them, like heat maps and session recording, you can only do on your own website. So they give you insights into your current customer. So a lot of people don't even understand their current audience or know about it. And these are the methods you can use to even get to know them better. So even if you know them already, once you add the data to it and once you actually pinpointed the information you're collecting, you'd be able to actually know them better and target your marketing, target your brand, all of that much better. So this brings us to why data analytics. So again, this audience exercise I'm telling you about, a lot of people do that in some form or the other. Whenever you start a business, whenever you're creating a product or you're going to start a product, you would have some inkling of who you're selling to or who you want to sell to. But data analytics really informs that decision. So it basically gives you, number one, right from the base, it gives you actionable insights. So you actually get exact numbers. So for example, if I have an e-commerce website and a lot of people are dropping off from my checkout page, so they add products to the cart, I can see the numbers in analytics. I can see 10 people added products, they got to cart. Out of those 10, nine got to checkout. So that's not a bad conversion. Then from checkout, only one actually completed the purchase. What that tells me is there's something wrong with my checkout. Either it's the process is not working, or it's just something on the page that's making people run away. And I'm using this example because that's one of the most common ones that happens in e-commerce, that they just get there, they just at checkout, and when it's time to put their card in or actually make the payment, they drop off. And a lot of times the reason for them doing that, which we realize once we look at the data, is that they can't trust. They don't want to put their card in somewhere where they don't trust. So the way to fix that would be improve that page, add some security logos, add some a secure process so people feel safer, and then they actually make the purchase. So this can apply to any part of your business, any part of the process. If you have the data to look at, you can know where to fix something or make it better, basically. And then this also helps you. Analytics is also going to help when you're actually running your ongoing marketing. So if you're running a campaign, if you're spending money, uh, it's if you're getting analytics back as well, you know which one is working, where you need to spend more money, where you need to take money out of, which way you need to point your marketing and your campaigns as well. So once you're running your campaigns, once you're engaging with that audience you learned about, it's important to keep an eye on the data, keep an eye on the analytics, and pivot, change, add, take out, depending on what your data is telling you. So uh, there's a nice balance between being totally data crazy about data and just using that and just being rigid with, yeah, if the data tells me this, I'm just going to do that. And then there's a more of a creative entrepreneur way of doing it, where you have a feeling, you have a gut feeling about something, and you do that. I think the best way to do this is a mixture of both. So you do use the data, you use your gut feeling, you use your experience, you use your knowledge, and marry the two, and use that to make your decisions about what you're going to do. So the data sources that you have to analyze once you're running is your website traffic data, website analytics. That includes, yep, the traffic and how they're behaving and what they're doing. Your social media metrics, engagement, clicks. Again, all of these social media platforms provide you the dashboard, and it let you know what you can actually use and what you should be doing. And then the email marketing, if you're doing email marketing, you'd get analytics like open rates, click-through rates, and that would tell you, okay, if I'm not getting enough open rate, my subject probably isn't good enough. If I'm not getting enough click-through rate, there might be a problem with my content. If I'm getting a good click-through rate, means my subject at least is good and people are opening it. So let me work on something else. And these are just, 3, 4 common examples of the things that you would normally be using: social media, email, Google Ads. But really, any marketing or any outbound activity you're doing for your business, whatever tool you're using, you'll definitely be able to get analytics from that tool. Even places like Eventbrite, where you put up events, you get analytics, you get data on what people are doing, how they're behaving, and that's what you use to then optimize and make things better next time. Another thing I want to talk about when it comes to analytics is segmentation. So this I kind of already spoke about a bit, where you create different characters, but even within that, you from those characters or from your actual audience data, you can get some segments and then you use those. For example, the examples I mentioned here is high spenders, frequent visitors. So this is for, let's say, an e-commerce website where you can make a group of people whose average order value is more than $100 or $200 or whatever is considered high in your industry or your business. And you know, okay, these are the big spenders. Then you have people who don't spend much. You have people who order more frequently than others. So what this helps you do, and then it can apply to anything, like for an organization that's doing geographical outreach, you can have, okay, we have people from a certain state. We have this many people from California, this many people from Maryland, and then you create their segments, whether it's email marketing, social media marketing, however you're going to reach out to them. Once you have segments, then you can tailor your approach towards that segment. So if I have a high spenders, I know if I'm sending them an email blast or social media ad targeted at them, I want to just promote my more expensive items. I want to promote the things that I would know that they would probably buy. If I have a segment on the opposite side of the same scenario, where it's people whose average order value is $10, $20, I know there's no point trying to sell them a $500 product. So I would create a separate segment for them in my marketing, in my emails, in all my communication, and I would target them with the smaller items that I want to get out, the ones that I want to work on volume. So this can apply in any business, any kind of service, or any kind of industry. It's just about segmentation and figuring out how many different ways you can reach your current audience or your new audience as well. But figuring out different ways, because then the deeper you go down when you're doing outbound sales or marketing, the more niche you can make it, the better it is, because it's more relevant to the people. So if someone reaches out to me, and you must see this on a lot of ads as well, where they say, depending on your age, they will say, "Are you a 40-year-old person living in London trying to get this?" And then you're like, "Oh, how did they know?" So that's basically they're using that same trick, where they are making it so niche to specifically you that you feel targeted, but also that way they can give you what exactly you need, because you are targeted and they're marketing to you specifically. And that's like the number one goal of any marketing campaign is to find the exact niche audience, starting from I'm just looking for all people of a certain age to I'm looking for men of a certain age to I'm looking for men in a certain area of a certain age, and then down to I'm looking for men in a certain area of a certain age earning a certain amount of money. And if you can define that, and that's your actual target audience, those are going to have the best conversion rates because they are really specifically who you're looking for and who you want to sell to or who you want to market to. And yeah, so the messages then you create, it'll be easier to do that as well because you know who you're targeting. Writing a general uh, campaign or social media. Ken, did you want to?
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say there's a question in the chat. Do you have kind of like a spiraling picture of yourself? And then I don't know if there are um, line items beneath social media engagement matrix. Are there any other?
Is my picture showing in the screen as well?
Yeah, your picture showing right. So right underneath social
Oh,
media engagement matrix is your picture.
oh, let me see if I can change that.
Nice picture and all, but I think we
All right, let me reshare and not have it do. Where do I? Oh, there it is. Okay, it should just be the screen now. Let's see. Is it just the screen now?
that's better. There you go. Thanks,
All right.
Natasha.
Thanks for letting us know. And sorry to everyone who missed the bottom of each screen in the past couple of slides. So, all right, and that is a good cue to move on to the next one. All right, so now we're going to talk about this is uh, Chad is going to get into much more detail with on this in next month's session. But as far as finding out who your audience is and then reaching out to them, I'm just going to go softly over how you can do it on social media. So I've mentioned a few specific ones here, but you can kind of apply to this to YouTube or TikTok or depending on your industry what you want to use. But Facebook and Instagram probably have the best stats that they give you, the best data that they collect on people, on who they are, how they're using the app, and what they're doing. So if you're running ads on Facebook or Instagram, and again, you know your audience, you would literally it will let you select these demographics or the even psychographic things we spoke about. It will let you select. I only want to target people who are interested in golf or who play golf this many times a month. So it gives you that much detail in your targeting for ads as well. So both Instagram and Facebook, you can customize your audiences up to that much detail. So that's what you would do. For LinkedIn, LinkedIn is mostly for B2B targeting. So again, you have people's job titles, their company size, their industry, their experience in years. So there are some demographic things that you could get on LinkedIn on your LinkedIn audience and reach out to them that way. Uh, and the way, again, your marketing is targeted at that specific segment then because you already know you've already done the segmenting. Same thing goes for Twitter. On Twitter, it's mostly kind of different as far as audience targeting. You start from trends and hashtags that are trending and then become a part of the conversation. Retweet people, try to get retweeted yourself, use a lot of hashtags. So it's more of you have to get into it more. You have to it's not as easy as just buying an ad and putting the right keywords or putting the right demographic in it. You do have to engage with the audience, but depending on your type of brand and depending on what you're doing or what you're selling, that might be the best way forward for you if you actually get to engage with real people and go back and forth with them. So, in all of these platforms, apart from Twitter, you can do organic and paid ads or reach out or marketing. So, organic is a slower it's slower but normally can last longer again depending on your business. If you're running a service-based business, organic a lot of times works better because how you get to organic is you engage with people, you go to groups if it's Facebook, you join groups if it's LinkedIn, you join groups, you attend networking events, you reach out to people personally, individually, talk to them, go back and forth with them. So that means you're actually before you even talk about sales or talk about uh, what your product is, you've already built a bit of a relationship with someone, whether it's in a group with a bunch of people, or whether it's organically, or just one on one with someone on LinkedIn, or if it's on Twitter with numerous people in a thread. Either way, you've built a relationship with people. And then if they buy or not, the decision might be based on some other factor, but it won't be based on, it's not relevant because you've already done that part. When you've organically engaged and gone back and forth, you only get people who are actually relevant to you, that would be in that conversation with you. For paid, like I mentioned, Facebook and Instagram is pretty much, they have a lot of data on people and how people behave. So their targeting is definitely the best. Uh, the only thing with social media paid ads is they don't necessarily work for all kinds of businesses, depending on what you're trying to achieve. Even with the ad, like if you're trying to make a direct sale, might work for some products, might not work for maybe service-based businesses. If you're trying to do something a bit more long term, it might get you engagement on your page or likes and follows, but it won't necessarily get you business. LinkedIn, on the other hand, they have a couple of paid options where you can do the Sales Navigator or you can do LinkedIn Premium, and they're pretty good. For now, they haven't been. They're on the way to becoming like other platforms where there's just a lot of people paying LinkedIn to just send you in messages and ads and everything. But it's not that bad yet. So it's still a viable method of to give them money and try to get some, because they give you a lot of good data as well. If you're paying LinkedIn, they will give you some good data and they'll give you some good leads and good lists that you can reach out to. Twitter is, again, it's just organic. So for now, you can't pay them to do any marketing for you, but you would also be able to, if you're looking for paid marketing, apart from your Google Ads and Facebook and LinkedIn, a lot of platforms themselves have their own paid marketing initiatives. So depending on your business or your industry, you might find that a popular platform in your industry that people use or get together on or network on might allow you to pay them to get you more traction or marketing. And the only thing, so I've especially mentioned the key tip on this one because when you're spending money, when you go to paid marketing, you have to keep an eye on it. So you can't put money in and next month come and check what's going on with your ads. You have to, especially initially, I would say on a daily basis or every couple of days at least, go in, see what your campaigns are doing. A lot of these are pay per click, so you only pay when someone clicks on an ad, but you need to go in and see what's happening. You don't want to waste your money. You don't want people who are not relevant to you clicking on them. So you would go in, see how your ads are performing. If you're running multiple ads, which you should, instead of spending $50 on one ad, spend $10 on five ads at different audiences. To, use different audience profiles that we've created, and try running on all of them. See which ones perform better. See which ones need to do some work. You need to do some work on to make them perform better. But always keep an eye on them and always keep tinkering with your ads that you're running, especially if you're putting money in. You don't want to just throw money at it and then come back a month later and realize that you spent most of your budget on the wrong type of ad that the wrong type of people are responding to. So that's the paid and kind of the quick methods. Now we're going to talk a bit about building an online community. So one of the things in any relationship, business or otherwise, is knowing the other person. So this whole act, all of this that we've been doing so far, have been learning about people, learning about our audience, getting to know them, whether as when they're strangers and we're doing it through some social media data, or whether they are actually our customers and we are getting the data from our own analytics or from our own relationship with them, just talking to them, right? Getting them to fill survey forms. So getting any information on our existing customers even. Now, once you have that, once you have people in and you know your audience, you building a community with them is pretty much the number one way to number one, make sure that they keep stay loyal to you, they stay with you, and they become recurring customers. But also, they will grow your network for you. So in today's age, there are a lot of ways to do it. Even WhatsApp groups do a really good for some businesses and some industry types, where you could just have a premium WhatsApp group where your good customers, they get to be in there, and once they're in, everyone is talking about your specific thing, and that makes a nice community. And that's the community then you keep selling to and you keep growing it. I know a lot of businesses that even now their WhatsApp group is one of their main sources of even income because they do fashion. And once they have a new line coming out, the WhatsApp group gets the first look at it, and normally they do like 50 or 100 or 200 pieces in one line, and just the WhatsApp group books all of that. So they don't even have to put it up on their website. They just put the designs on their WhatsApp. They get enough orders from there that, okay, this line is sold out. Let's do the next one. And so that's, it's all about creating the community. The platform that you do it on, there are so many options now. You can create Facebook groups. You can, again, do WhatsApp. There's a lot of places you can do that online. But really, the point is, having them in one place and then using that also, keeping them engaged, giving them something good, giving them some benefit of being there. And another thing that helps once you have that community is, yeah, you can sell to them, make money and all of that as well, but you also get real time feedback on whatever you're doing, whether it's a decision you want to make, whether it's a decision you've already made and you're trying to put something out there. But since you're one on one with your actual customers or your actual audience, you'll get straight feedback one on one, and you learn a lot from that. You can, it could be good stuff, could be bad stuff, but anyways, it informs your decision. So a big part of a lot of companies is running surveys and doing all of that to get customer feedback to learn what they want to do. Like even massive Hollywood movies have to do test screenings and get people's feedback and forms. So there's a whole process for that. If you have a community, whether it's on something like Reddit or Quora, or whether it's on Facebook, or whether it's on WhatsApp, once you have a community, that's your big Hollywood budget movie screening, because you get everything from them straight away without actually having to go out and find people to do that. So definitely use that for feedback as well. And some online communities, I already mentioned Facebook, LinkedIn is one option. And then there are a lot of forums out there. There used to be way more before, but now, especially Reddit, Quora, uh, Discord. There are a lot of platforms depending on your industry. There might be some specific ones to you. So a lot of industries have like gaming, for example. Discord is big in gaming. So if you do gaming products, you probably have a Discord page for your brand, and your fans or your audience will join that, and that's how you build that community. You could do it through video platforms like YouTube. A lot of people have massive communities on YouTube. So I actually worked with a client who had a YouTube page. They wanted to do a YouTube page, and they did a video. They used to do trainings on code and AI and all of that. And they now have 500,000 subscribers. And that community, they turned it into a business where they took people out, and now they have a website where they're selling their courses, and they have about 100,000 people signed up to that as well, which they just started with a 4 hour YouTube video training people how to program drones. So that's what they did. They literally built a community on YouTube. And then once they're there, they were like, okay, Hasan, what do I do now? I have this community. I have like 200,000 subscribers. Then I said, okay, let's build now a brand that community is going to be already a fan of, and bring them out of YouTube and bring them into your own customized web platform where they can come and buy your paid courses rather than your free stuff on YouTube. And still to this day, that community is fully engaged, and he's selling to them. He's got sponsors from Nvidia and all of that, and he's running raffles and prizes and all of that. So he keeps the community engaged, and that's how his business keeps growing. And that can apply to any kind of business, and you could use, again, multiple types of platforms to do that. So we're going to talk a bit about SEO now. Again, Eddie will definitely get into more detail on this in a couple of months' time in part three of this series, but I'll just go through a bit of it. I mentioned before that once you know your audience, you kind of know how to target them, how to get to them. And the number one thing, the method to do that, the starting point really, when you're building a website or starting your content, is to do your keyword research. Uh, Google has its own tool called the Keyword Planner, SEMrush, Rush, Moz. These are some of the platforms where you can go in, you can tell them this is my product or this is my service, and it gives you some stats. It gives you a lot of stats, like not just some. It gives you a lot of stats on these are what people. This is what people are searching for. These are the types of people that are searching for it. These are the locations they're in, and whatever it can give you, and that really helps you inform kind of what you're going to do next. So once you have your keywords, and once you know which words they're using to actually search, and you know how to target them, you can run ads, but then you can do search engine optimization, which basically means if I'm selling a hairbrush and people are searching for buy a pink hairbrush with a mirror on it rather than just buy a hairbrush, that's my niche, and because I sell pink hairbrushes with mirrors on them, so my content would be optimized to that. It would be talking about pink hairbrushes with mirrors in them rather than just generally brushes, right? And so that way I've targeted my audience, and it's in a part of my content. It's organic. I don't have to run an ad on it. As long as it's in my website's content, it's in my meta descriptions and title tags, which I'm sure Eddie will get into more detail with you. But basically, what that means is that you're telling Google, just by putting the right content in, you're telling Google what you're about. And Google really loves that. Google wants to know, wants you to give it as much information as you can about who your actual audience is and who it needs to send to your website. And that's what Google is really based on. It is the best at knowing who the person searching is and knowing which brand or which website they might like. So when you're putting the right search engine, when you're doing the right kind of search engine optimization, putting the right keywords on your website, putting the right tags, uh, Google knows who to send to your website, and normally that is going to be your actual target audience. And then the next part that you get out of it, a really good search engine optimization strategy, is publishing content, content marketing. What that means, it could be as simple as having a blog on your website, which is relevant to your business, to your industry, and you maybe doing once or twice a week, you're doing blog articles that include keywords for your industry. So if I'm running a business, a lawnmower business or lawn mowing business, I will do a blog every week about best ways to mow your lawn, best designs for lawn mowing, best practices of lawn mowing. So different topics, but all relevant to my industry. If I want to go geographical, I could run an article, best lawn mowing companies in Rockville, and then my company can be one of them. And that's how I upsell. So as long as you know who you're targeting and you know your keywords, your content marketing, as long as it's high quality, it's doing its job. It's not just there to put the keywords in, it's actually providing value, because Google is very smart now. It can tell if you're just putting content or just for the sake of it, or if you're actually providing value. So it still has to be good quality content, but it will always be relevant because you know which keywords you're targeting. So it's not going to be random. It's not going to be on a lawnmower side. It's not going to be talking about solar panels. It's going to be talking about specifically what your audience wants to read. And that's how you actually get them onto your website. Once they're there, you grab them, convert them, and they become a customer. So we're getting closer to the end, so it's going to be more about the overall now. So basically, once you have all of these, I've kind of gone through them separately, but really, all of these are going to be in one strategy. So the reason you got to know your audience way back when I started this is so that whatever marketing strategy or whatever outbound communication your company is putting out, it has the same message, it's targeting the same people, and you know where you're going with each one. So anything I spoke about, for example, running a campaign for a specific type of company, your social media, your email marketing, your website, your blogs, everything should be pointed towards that customer. If I have two types of customers, let's say, for example, one of my customer types is 30-year-old men and my other customer type is 20-year-old women, I should have a social media campaign targeted at the 30-year-old men and what they want and what they need. And then I should have an email campaign going to them. I have somewhere on my website that's specifically targeted to them, like a landing page. And then I also have a social media campaign, an email campaign, and a landing page for the 20-year-old woman that I'm targeting based on what she needs and what my business can give her. So that way, again, there's just two. You can have five, six, seven, but each of them needs to be depending on how important you think they are, not just based on what you think, but based on the data you get once you start running those campaigns. But you should have a specific attention to each segment of your audience. That's the point of getting to know them, is then you know how to and who to target, and you can use all of your channels that you have to target them separately as well. And it goes into, consistency is, yeah, you have to make sure each facet of your outbound marketing is the same, and it's following the same structure, which is I know who my audience is, or I know who this segment of my audience is, and that's who I'm targeting. And then once you've done that, I spoke about this earlier as well, that we have to track people across channels and we have to keep adjusting. That's just how it is. Once you put stuff out, you see people's feedback. If you're sending emails, you see how many people open it. Next time you send one, you make changes based on what response you got. If you're running social media ads, you see people how people responded to it. If you're in a group chat, if you're in a a group where you bring everyone together. You did something there. You saw people's feedback, change, pivot, add stuff, take stuff out. So always keep doing that, and that's just ongoing. There's never going to be, okay, I perfectly know what I'm doing now as far as marketing to this certain audience type is. So I don't ever need to change it. If that was true, all these big companies wouldn't, like Coke and Pepsi, they wouldn't change their logo every 5 to 10 years. They have to, because that's how business works. That's how branding works. That's how reaching out to customers works. You have to keep changing depending. So many things. There's so many variables into what your audience is. So if I started my business when my audience was 18-year-old kids, and 10 years later that audience is going to be 28. So, and they might still be my loyal customer. So I might have to change my language, and might have to change my approach to things, because now I'm targeting somebody else. So the only way I would know that is if I keep measuring and optimizing as I go, rather than just getting stuck with something that worked 5, 6, 7 years ago. So it's gonna go over everything really quickly. So number one, defining and understanding your audience is really important, because that kind of leads to any other decision you make, whether what you're going to actually sell and how you're going to sell it, who you're going to target. Throughout the process, always leverage your data and audience insights. So the raw data, numbers, and also speak to people, get feedback, get them to fill in forms, just talk to you, tell you what they think, and then use that information, and then utilize everything you have. So whether it's social media, search engine optimization, email marketing, in-person events, in-person marketing, brochures, flyers, whatever you can use, as long as you know who you're targeting, use everything that's available to you. And the only way you get successful at it is once you've learned about your audience, is keep going at it. Then, change stuff around, use the data you've got, use your experience, use how things are going, but always be consistent with your messaging and keep going at it, uh, and always be ready to make changes where needed. But if something hasn't worked for a month that you've done it, doesn't mean that method is not working, or that platform isn't good, or you were totally wrong about your audience. Normally, just a couple of tweaks here and there actually bring you right back on board or make things better. So that's the thing with always tweaking it, always keep going back in. And if something is not working, changing it around, and not leaving it for months and then coming back to find that it's not working. So, consistently stay in there, stay on top of it. And that is me. That is my uh, prepared segment of this presentation, and hopefully that was helpful to everyone. I am going to open the floor up to questions now. So if anyone has any questions, any notes, wants to have a go at me, give me some feedback, please jump on the mic, or you could put a message down in the chat, and I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, folks. I see a lot of familiar faces, so I'll call on.
No, I thought that was a lot of great information, man. No, that was really good stuff. I think it's very it's underestimated, the power of really getting to know your ideal client, where they are, especially, and what they want to hear you talk about is something that's like got to be understood at the foundational level. Yeah. So thank you for this.
Appreciate it, chap. Thank you.
Kind of
This is Karen, and I'll say that for the small business owner, I know who my audience is, and the small business owner may, although it seems like we can keep getting deeper and deeper into that and more refined. But what's where do you start? That operation, that ideal operation that you described to us, what's the first brick in the wall, or the first 10 bricks in the wall to build that out?
So the
Does that make
first
sense?
brick, yeah, it does. It makes perfect sense. So the first brick is starting with your own. So if you, let's say you don't have any data, you haven't started even looking at the tools yet, let's say keyword research or social media, it starts with you, right? So when you have your business idea or your service idea or your product idea, when you have it planned, a part of the research for doing that should be figuring out who am I selling this to. So it could initially be just based on what you think or what you've seen or based on your experience or your knowledge, but create that first profile. Okay, this is who I'm selling to. And then use these methods, the data analytics, the social media analytics, the social engineering, use all of that to inform that, make it better, make it more defined. But it does normally start with whatever made you do what you're doing as far as your business. Use that to figure out, okay, who am I selling to? Who is it for? And then use the data to inform that, make it better, make more versions of it, and then expand from there.
Thank you. And
Mhm.
hire.
What was that last comment, Karen?
Oh, sorry, I was muting myself.
Oh, okay.
Um, no, it's great information. I think it's execution that is the key, though, right? I
Yep.
see that Eddie has unmuted. Do you have an answer for that?
Yeah, well, I was gonna ask Hassan to please share with the listeners a scenario in which the lack of audience understanding led to a, marketing related issue, or, a scenario in which, an audience insights, led to a marketing breakthrough, maybe from your own experience or just in general, just something that shows the power of audience research and how it's, helped someone.
Yes. So a lot of times, I won't mention any specific brands, but let's talk about movies, for example. So a lot of time, movies do all of this. They do a lot of, especially big Hollywood productions. They do a lot of research on who is this for, who is the target audience, all of that, right? And a lot of times they get it wrong. So you must have seen in the past few years some big budget movies doing really badly at the box office is because they got their audience research wrong. They didn't realize who they're actually making that movie for isn't the one who they're not interested in what they're actually putting in that movie. And in especially in the superhero genre in the past few years, you've seen that happen a lot of times. You've seen that happen with movies like the Marvels that came out a few years ago, where it's basically a completely a movie targeted at the Marvel audience, which is normally 20 to 30-year-old men, but it wasn't made like that. It was made targeted more at the female audience, so it didn't do that well because they did not actually make it for the target audience. Same thing people do a lot with a lot of products where they do a range that's targeted at a specific market, which because that's the point of the range, but they didn't actually research properly that their target audience doesn't care about that, and they care about something else that they should have actually focused on. So yeah, that's that's what happens when you either misunderstand the audience or you just completely get it wrong.
I have another question in the chat. Does long form content work best with social media platforms or primarily for blogs and websites?
So, good question. Thank you for that, Cortez. So, basically, the type of content you're doing has a lot of variables that can kind of inform what you should be doing. It depends on the industry as well. So, if you're targeting a younger audience, you might have to just stick with short form content, even if it's on your website, because they have lesser attention spans. And also, it depends on the type of industry. So, when I say they have lesser attention span, it depends on what kind of thing you're selling. If you're selling vapes, it's going to be teenagers and kids, and they're not going to stick around to read something. But if you're a service or a product that's for businesses, for serious people, for business people, for corporates, they might be more interested in watching even a 1 minute video or reading through something that might help their business. So it depends on your industry and the type of product you have. For blogs and websites, even long form content does work good for Google and search engine optimization because it Google thinks it's better quality content, and it might work again in a serious industry. But even the times that if you look at the stats for how long people spend on websites reading things, they're actually very depressing numbers that people do not have attention spans anymore, and especially for social media. So even if you are promoting a long form thing, if it's like a 30-minute video I'm promoting on social media, I would do 30-second, 40-second snippets of that video, put that on social media, and then say, if you're interested in the whole thing, click here and get to the whole video. Because I know people aren't gonna, when they see a 30-minute, 15-minute, 20-minute clip pop up, they're just gonna scroll through it. So a lot of people on social media are scrolling through basically, and they don't have the attention span to read long stuff. Depends on the industry as well.
Okay, another question in it. Chat moved because someone put a comment. In small business web design, how do you target a niche when you can literally serve almost any small business?
That's a very good question. Thank you, Clifton. So we've had this problem at Strategia Solutions as well, because not only do we serve any kind of small business, we also do everything from web design to video production to apps and mobile apps and games and uh, pretty much anything that you can get from an agency. So we had the same problem: is how do we figure out a niche? Who do we actually target? We can't spend money all over the place and try targeting everyone. So what you have to do is you have to kind of create a niche. So if you're small business web design, so you already have a niche that is small businesses, and the second niche is web design. So some suggestions: you could go industry wise. So for example, we did way back in the day, we got a few projects, website projects from old age care homes. So we did a targeted campaign at them. Then we had a couple in our portfolio, so we reached out to old age homes and care homes, and that became our niche for a bit. Kind of shifted into healthcare, and then we reached out to them. So you can do a similar thing with the industry, or then you can do it geographically as well, where you start with your city, start with your county, start with your state, and then do targeted towards them, and then eventually go state by state or city by city or county by county. And same thing for industries. If you have a strong portfolio in a specific industry, use that as your first niche, and then just take it from there and break it down industry wise.
Great, great, great. We're going to wrap up. I'm going to ask Chad and Eddie, the other two participants in this three-part series, to kind of let us know what to expect for your upcoming sessions. Chad, you have the next session. Can you kind of give us a little?
Sure, I'll be talking all about social media, how to use what you've learned here today to craft a brand voice for your brand message that resonates with your target audience and attracts them into your bubble, so that you can generate more leads. And at the end of the day, what matters is to land more deals.
Excellent. And then Eddie, you follow up in December with your session.
Hello?
Yep.
Okay, so in my next session, which is actually in January, I will be sharing with the audience how to leverage, the power of content to attract your ideal customers to their websites organically. So that way you don't have to, spend too much time or invest too much money into, promoting, because, once you have a very well structured blog with SEO in place, that would make it more easier to attract your ideal customers, your ideal audience to your site. It's just a matter of deciding on the right content, based on who they are, based on what they're interested in, and also based on what you sell. And once you're able to attract these people, the next step would be, how do we convert them, into paying? How do we convert more people? So I'll be sharing with you some tactics, that I have personally used, in my business, to help my clients to multiply their website traffic, over time. Yeah.
Excellent. So Hasan, thank you. And so you guys, for those of you who don't know, Hasan is actually logging in from London. So we do a bunch of stuff with him. And I'm like, it's always 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So Hasan, thank you as usual. Great content as usual. Thank you for burning the night oil. And then Eddie and Chad, look forward to hearing your upcoming presentations. And I'll let Hasan, do you have any closing words?
I just like to say thank you everyone for attending, and I look forward to the next ones in the series. I'll be there, ready in chat.